I wanted to commend you for fulfilling your vision of when I first met you. I just want to say to anybody listening that when I first met Trevor, he attended one of my workshops, which was healing, transformational based, relationship based. He kind of confided in me and said, I really see myself doing this one day. And so it was a real treat for me when he reached out to me and said, I'm doing this retreat, for me to go, sign me up. I'm going to now be the student / participant now. And it was a real cool thing for me to just receive your container. Other people weren't really sharing much. So I'm looking at this going, there's not a lot of like deep, vulnerable sharing. You can see that they're kind of, the ego is trying to block that. And I was like, all right, let me do this. And so I basically shared how you and I met and what happened right after that workshop that was really pivotal in shifting the dynamic for not only the two of you, you and Shar, but everybody in the room in a positive way. And yet for me, it was probably the biggest wake-up call that led me into a downward spiral where kind of like the movie Shawshank Redemption, where Andy Dufresne was trying to escape from prison, and to get out was like the last like 3 miles of going through a sewage pipe of pure shit to come out the other side. I kind of feel like the same way it happened after the weekend of your retreat the very next day. So that was interesting for me.
Danielle Grant had sent over an audio recording to me that was intended to speak to every single person that was there. And I had only listened to about half of it before I played it for everybody. But at the end of it, I just remember everybody kind of looking at each other and thinking, oh shit, that's why we're here. That is what brought us to this place.
Beautiful words by Danielle. Amazing. I was so grateful to hear from her and deeply impacted by her share. It just kind of like got us all going, hey, this isn't just like bunch of guys farting around, although that's going to be part of the fun. We're all there with an intention, which is to get real with ourselves, to express what's going on and what's true for us and where we want to be. Because day-to-day life has us so in our heads that we don't really have time to just drop in and really get connected with what's really true, what we're feeling, what we've been hiding, what we've been avoiding. And we just don't want to face it. And so if we're interested in evolving ourselves and healing ourselves, to take regular pauses, sacred pauses, not just in our day, in our mornings and evenings to reflect, but really like take ourselves out of our environment, immerse ourselves into nature. I live in downtown Vancouver, so it was really important for me to get out and come to a lake and just see nature and jump into the lake and to go on the hike and all of that. Her words caught me present to, I have no choice. Like I have to burn. I can't go back. I can't go back. I have to. I was in the I have to at the time, working towards the love to. So that's why I'm working on that.
One of the last things that I introduced to everybody before we did our cold plunge, which was like hard shit, you know, like let's go lean in and feel this pain, was to share a video talking about forgiveness and like radical forgiveness. And I remember you actually brought up to everybody this awareness again around a word, right? But to reframe language, using the word understanding as opposed to even forgiving. Do you want to just talk to that really quickly? And then how are you experiencing that right now?
Wow, great question. Everybody talks about forgiveness being this thing, you know, we hear it in the Bible and religion and all that stuff. And it has a really great concept. When you go from resentment and anger and judgment and blame, forgiveness is a level up. What I've discovered is forgiveness is an incomplete awareness. It basically says, you know what? I forgive you. What you did was wrong. The harm was real, but I'm blameless. I never have hurt anybody. I don't have those traits that you just did. I'm blameless and I'm innocent and I'm angelic, but I'm going to take the high road and I'm going to forgive you. And most people pay that lip service, but in their body, there's still resentment. 99.9999% of forgiveness is bullshit. What I've observed, I got to forgive myself. I'm going to forgive myself. I'm forgiving myself. I forgive you. If it's not in the body, this sense of freedom that's in your body, it's not real, right? And so I started thinking about this. Like, how do I love myself? How do I forgive this person or that person? And what I discovered is that, would you rather be forgiven for something? Think of something that you did when you hurt somebody, even if it was unintentional, you hurt somebody. Would you rather be forgiven, or would you rather be understood? And the truth of the matter is, when you understand, and how do you understand the person? Well, when you understand the nervous system, when you understand childhood wounding, when you understand how these get triggered and we get knocked back into these wounds, and our behavior is all kind of a function of our nervous systems, then you understand people's behaviors. And once I got this polyvagal theory nailed, sorted, and I understood attachment, then I understood why my parents showed up the way they did. They didn't show up the way they did. Why people freeze or why people ghost. And then I realized, wow, I understand why my former partner is behaving the way she is. I understand her pain, her abandonment wound, and her need for revenge. I understand her need to vilify me and make me from the pedestal that she had me on into the pit of resentment so that she could finally move forward, right? Because a lot of times people don't want to forgive because it makes what they did okay, or there's the fear of them returning back to a really shitty situation. If I forgive them or make it okay, then I run the risk of abandoning myself again. So there's this unconscious shit going on in our shadows with forgiveness we're not even aware of. But if you peel back the layers, the way I've been helping people, that's what shows up is, I'm not going to forgive them. Because why? They don't know this, but deep down, if I forgive them, it makes it okay. And then I run the risk of this happening again, which I totally get. So what I'm offering is understanding. If you get to a place of understanding of yourself, you will understand the unconsciousness of why you were pulled into that situation, why you didn't leave, why you kept going back. You don't have to forgive yourself for that. When you understand the wounding that had you consistently reenacting this trauma in the relationship dynamic, and you didn't want to leave because it's a highly addictive experience, wanting to go back and reconnect and complete. It's your nervous system trying to complete what was incomplete. There's nothing to forgive. But when you understand that, you start having compassion towards yourself. Then you look at the other person you've been judging, and you're able to see with compassion, not until you've done that with yourself first, by the way. And so once you've given yourself that compassion, and then you give the other person that compassion, then an interesting thing happens. You realize that you don't actually need to forgive the other person anymore. Yeah. You understand them. And so there's freedom in that, and that's what I'm offering. That's what I'm working towards. And so my job right now is to first understand the little boy that showed up in those times where I was less than stellar in my last relationship, and to understand the wounded little girl in my former partner who is wanting to have some sort of revenge and scapegoat all of her pain onto somebody else and blame everybody, kind of like push the blame externally. And so I understand it. I get it. And when I get it and understand it, I don't need to forgive.
Beautiful, man. I'm so glad that she stuck around for a few minutes to explain that, because that was probably one of the most impactful moments of the weekend that we just experienced together. I know there was one individual in particular there that said, we didn't agree all weekend, Nima, but that right there, holy shit, it just unlocked something for him. And of course, we're all on this journey, right? It's a constant understanding of why we do what we do, why others do what they do, and really diving into hard stuff, because right now we're talking about a very challenging situation you were in, but some people's story is that they were sexually abused as kids, or they're having to understand where somebody maybe murdered somebody that they love, like really extreme things where there's death involved even. And I think just you explaining that provides a door, at least, for people to go in and say, okay, this isn't about forgiving and then making myself exposed to hurt again. That's not what it's about. And Yeah, I just appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for coming on and chatting about this.
Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed that clip and you want to watch the full unedited episode, go ahead and click over here. And while you're at it, don't forget to subscribe. It really does mean a lot to me. Thanks so much.